This is our last step. We have our mug that's been wheel thrown. I have my foot trimmed onto it. I got my handle attached. Now we're getting ready to do Sgraffito. So what I'm going to do first is I get my underglaze. I'm going to be using the red. I mean, not the red. I just looked at red and said red. I'm actually using black. Um, get a brush. You want to use a turntable on this. And I'm just going to apply 2 even layers across the surface of my mug. All right. If you're going to do your handle Sgraffito, do that as well. If you're, whatever parts of it you're going to be using the Sgraffito technique for, make sure you get a nice even coat. What you want to be aware of is that underglaze or slip, unlike glaze, it needs to be applied evenly. If you have any drips on it, if you see any uneven brush strokes, things like that, that's going to show up once it gets fired. This doesn't melt in the kiln. It's not like glaze that melts and everything kind of smooths out and goes together. This is really important that we have a nice, even, well applied surface. Our mug itself should be leather hard at this point. For it to hold up to the carving and this process. So you want to do 2 coats. You want to let it dry completely in between coats. All right. We don't have. We don't want to leave fingerprints or things like that on it because it will show up. So you want to apply a coat completely around and then go on to do the second coat and then start applying your design. All right. So this mug already has the 2 coats put on it, and it's dry, so I can touch it, and the slip or the underglaze is dry. When we're doing Sgraffito, there's like not really any takesies backsies, so you gotta really commit to your lines and commit to the work on it. It's not like in other things where if I'm like lightly carving something into the surface and I don't like it, I can just like blend it out. That doesn't work with Sgraffito. You need to really be sure about your line work. So what I like to do is I like to get a pencil and very lightly, not really touching into the surface of not carving into the surface of my mug, but just getting my basic lines outlined so that I can see where I'm going to be carving and where those lines need to be. I don't think you can really see it, but it's there. I can see it, and that's what's important. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a needle tool for this one. You can use one of the carving tools or something like that. But I'm just going to very lightly follow my pencil drawings. And I'm not really carving into the surface. I'm kind of using the side of the needle tool. And all that I'm doing is I'm taking away that the black underglaze. So what's coming off of my needle tool is the black underglaze. I'm not really creating a carved in surface with this quite yet. I'm just removing that outer layer of black. Okay, so you're going to go through and kind of get that going. All right, so you could use the needle tool. We have our carving tools as well. There's some bigger ones, some smaller ones. It sort of depends on what your what size and how detailed your design is. What makes this kind of challenging with the clay that we use is that when our clay is still greenware, it is gray. And the black that we have is almost the same color. So it can kind of become a little bit challenging to see the where the underglaze is or where that colored slip is versus where that raw clay is. But you just kind of want to go through and make sure you hit all the lines that you want to hit. Right? Remember, once our clay gets fired, once it becomes bisqueware, once it becomes bisqueware, our clay itself turns white and the black stays black. So we're going to really be able to see where those lines are. So you can see I'm just carving in and I'm taking off all of these little shavings here that are coming off are just that black underglaze. Right. I want to be thinking about what my final design is going to look like. I need to be thinking about all of this negative space around my image and how is that going to affect it. So depending on what your drawing is or what your ideas are, you can sort of take around and highlight it more. You can sort of add a texture or surface treatment to the entirety of the rest of the mug by just removing some of that underglaze. If you want to use glaze on or around parts of this, you just need to have a really clean and clear surface in order to apply the glaze to it. We want to, because this is a mug made for drinking, we want to think about the fact that we're not going to really be adding much onto it as far as texture goes. And then around our lip, we want to keep the lips kind of clean and free of too much texture, things like that. You want to have it be about a pinky's width from the top that you're going to be doing. Right, you can get up a little bit closer as long as it's away from where your lips would be. So usually remember, we don't hold things by the handle, but we would be drinking this way. So something that's coming up to almost the lip here is going to be okay, but we don't want it to hit on this side or this side where our lips would naturally be. That's it. So once you have your design carved in, it's good to go. Make sure that your initials and period number on the bottom, it goes on your cart. Get it fired.